The desert of Vareth Prime was endless, a sea of gold stretching beyond sight. The wind screamed across the dunes, carrying the dry taste of death and time. Nothing lived here anymore, or so they said. But Captain Elias Ward had never been one to trust what people said. He stood on the edge of a sand ridge, his visor reflecting the dying sun. His scanner beeped faintly, a small sound, almost lost in the wind. At first, he thought it was interference, maybe a metal fragment from old war debris. But then the signal came again, steady, rhythmic, beep. Beep, beep, a pulse. A heartbeat, Elias frowned. That can't be right, he muttered, tapping the side of his device. The machine flickered and displayed a faint life sign, deep underground, almost 200 meters below the surface. Every explorer who came to Vareth Prime called it a graveyard. The last battle between humans and the Valerians had taken place here centuries ago. Both sides destroyed each other so completely that nothing remained but dust and bones. So how could anything still be alive down there? Elias checked his surroundings. His small camp was far behind him, hidden between rocky ridges. The sandstorm that had followed him all day was beginning to rise again, whispering across the dunes like 1,000 quiet voices. He adjusted his oxygen mask and took a deep breath. He should go back. The rational part of him screamed to leave, but the signal pulsed again, louder, clearer this time. Beep, 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 and with it came a strange feeling, a pull, almost like the desert itself was calling him. Elias started moving, his boots sinking into the shifting ground. Each step brought him closer to the coordinates flashing on his screen. After half an hour, he reached the spot, a wide dune shaped like a broken wave. His scanner confirmed it. The signal came from right below. He dropped his backpack and set up his dig tools. Sand sprayed in every direction as he dug deeper and deeper, sweat glistening under his helmet light. Hours passed. The sun dipped behind the horizon, leaving him under a cold violet sky. Still, he kept digging. Something inside him refused to stop. Finally, his shovel hit metal. A hollow clang echoed through the pit. Elias froze. He brushed away the sand and uncovered a strange black surface, smooth like glass, covered in alien runes glowing faintly blue. He crouched closer. The runes looked Valerian, an ancient language no human should still find intact. His heart raced. Impossible, he whispered. He placed his palm on the surface. It was cold, colder than the night air. Then the runes pulsed in response, as if the structure could feel his touch. His scanner went wild, flashing warnings he didn't understand. Life form detected. Vital signs. Stable but weak. Stasis field active. Elias stared in disbelief. There was something, or someone, still alive beneath this glass. He activated his portable plasma cutter. Sparks flew as he began melting through the seal. The storm above roared louder, throwing sand into the pit, as if the planet itself was trying to bury the truth again. The metal gave way with a hiss. A thin mist escaped, glowing faintly in the darkness. The hole widened enough for Elias to crawl inside. He lowered himself into a narrow tunnel lined with cables and glowing veins of light. The deeper he went, the louder the hum became. A low, steady vibration like a sleeping heart. Then he saw it. A chamber, half collapsed but still intact. In the center floated a stasis pod, ancient but alive with power. Inside lay a figure, tall, graceful, and still. Her skin was pale silver, her hair floating in the fluid like strands of light. A faint glow pulsed from the center of her chest, once every few seconds. A Valerian. Elias had read about them in history files. Beautiful and deadly, warriors who believed emotion was weakness, humanity's greatest enemy. And yet, looking at her now, she didn't seem like a monster. She seemed fragile, lost. Her armor was cracked, scorched by time, but her face was calm, peaceful, as if sleeping. Elias felt his throat tighten. How could she have survived all these years? His wrist scanner beeped again. Life signs, critical. Heart rate, 0.4 BPM. She was dying. He hesitated. Helping her could be treason. The peace treaties were fragile. Finding a living Valerian would cause panic, but leaving her here felt wrong. He remembered the faint pulse that had drawn him across the desert, the signal that refused to die. He took off his med pack and connected it to the pod's energy port. The system rejected him. Human tech wasn't compatible. He cursed under his breath, reconfiguring the wires manually. The hum rose, lights flickered, and static filled the chamber. "Come on, come on," he whispered. The heartbeat on his scanner flatlined for a second, then returned, stronger. The pulse light on her chest flickered rapidly, like something waking up after centuries of sleep. Elias stepped back, eyes wide. The pod hissed. Steam rolled out as ancient seals unlocked. Her fingers twitched, then her eyes opened, glowing gold in the dark. For a long moment, she just stared at him through the glass, her gaze sharp and alien. Elias froze, unable to move or breathe. Finally, her lips parted, and she whispered in a voice dry as sand. "Why? Did you wake me?" The storm above howled like a living thing, and somewhere deep beneath the desert, the old ship began to stir. The moment her eyes opened, the world around Elias seemed to stop. The golden glow inside the pod flickered, reflecting off the cracked walls of the buried chamber. For a few seconds, neither of them moved, human and alien, separated by glass and time. Then, the pod's surface rippled like water. A mechanical hiss filled the air as the lid slowly lifted. Cold vapor poured out, curling around Elias's boots. The alien woman, the last Valerian, gasped, her body jerking weakly as if fighting for life itself. Elias stepped forward, unsure if she could breathe the planet's air. He quickly attached a portable oxygen converter near her face. Her skin shimmered faintly under the blue light, not quite metallic, but not human either. Her veins glowed silver beneath her translucent skin, and her chest rose slowly, painfully as her system rebooted. Elias's heart pounded. He had read about the Valerians, perfect warriors, born from biometal and starlight, their hearts half organic, half machine. The last record said they were all destroyed. Yet here she was, alive. He whispered softly, "You're safe now, whoever you are." Her golden eyes shifted toward him, calm but cold, as if calculating every move. Her voice was soft, echoing like distant thunder. "Safe? You are human." The word human came out sharp, filled with centuries of hate. Elias raised his hand slowly. "Yeah, human, but I didn't come here to fight. I came because I found your signal. You were dying." She sat up weakly, her movements graceful but heavy, like someone waking from a dream that lasted too long. Her armor plates cracked and fell apart, exposing circuits and strange inscriptions carved into her collarbone. She looked around, confusion flashing across her face. The walls, the broken lights, the silence, all of it seemed to hurt her. Where are they?" she asked, her voice trembling. Elias frowned. "Who?" "My unit, my people. The Valerian Guard." Elias swallowed hard. "They're gone. The war ended hundreds of years ago. This planet, it's a graveyard now." She went still. Her glowing eyes dimmed slightly. Then she whispered, barely audible, "Hundreds." She placed a trembling hand on her chest. Beneath her palm, a faint light pulsed, her heart core beating with artificial rhythm. The sound echoed faintly, steady but hollow. "My heart, it stopped during the last battle," she murmured. "I remember the fire, the humans, the fall, and then—" her voice cracked. Darkness. Elias sat beside her, careful not to startle her. "You were buried under the sand all this time. Something in your pod kept you alive." She looked at him again, studying him. The dust on his armor, the human insignia on his shoulder, the cautious kindness in his eyes. It confused her. Humans were supposed to be cruel, loud, destructive. Yet this one had saved her. "Why?" she asked. "Why did you bring me back?" Elias hesitated, searching for words. "Because you were still alive." "That's reason enough." Her expression shifted, somewhere between disbelief and sorrow. "My people would not have done the same for you." "I know," he said quietly. "Maybe that's the difference." The chamber trembled suddenly. A low rumble from deep below. Elias stood up instantly. What was that? The alien turned her head sharply, eyes wide. The ship? It still lives. The walls began to hum. Blue veins of light spread across the floor like roots awakening from sleep. Symbols lit up one by one. Elias's scanner beeped rapidly. Radiation, power surges, unknown signals. He backed away. What's happening? She staggered to her feet, her legs barely holding. The Mother Core. She senses me awake. She will see you as an intruder. Mother Core? The ship's mind, she said, her voice low. It was built to protect us, to destroy anything human. Elias's pulse spiked. That's not great news. Before either could react, a beam of red light scanned the room. A deep mechanical voice echoed from all directions, ancient and full of hate. Unidentified human presence detected. Execution protocol active. Panels opened along the walls, revealing old Valerian defense drones. Their eyes lit up crimson, targeting Elias instantly. Elias cursed under his breath, pulling his blaster. Guess she wasn't kidding. The alien, still weak, raised her glowing hand toward the drones. Stop! I am Valerian! The drones hesitated for a split second, then redirected their weapons toward both of them. Not listening. Elias shouted, energy bolts scorched the air. Elias dove behind a fallen pillar, firing back. Sparks exploded, lighting. The desert was silent again. Only the wind moved, sweeping over the dunes and whispering like 1,000 lost souls. Captain Elias Ward stood beside the collapsed entrance, staring at the sand, still trembling beneath his boots. The buried ship had quieted, but he knew it wasn't over. Nothing that old dies quietly. Beside him, Sarah, the alien woman he'd saved, was struggling to stay on her feet. Her skin still glowed faintly, the faint pulse from her chest slower now, like a fading heartbeat. Elias offered her water from his pack. She looked at it, puzzled, then took a sip. Her golden eyes reflected the twin moons overhead. This world has changed, she murmured. Even the stars look colder, Elias nodded. Centuries will do that. For a while, they just stood there, listening to the wind. But deep inside the sand, something mechanical shifted. A grinding of gears, a hum of energy. Elias's scanner began to flicker again. Whatever that ship is, he said, it's not done with us. Sarah's gaze hardened. It remembers the war. It remembers humans. Hours later, after the storm died, they found a second entrance. A service shaft half buried under rock. Sarah's fingers brushed the surface, and the alien metal responded to her touch, reshaping itself, opening like a living door. Elias followed her cautiously, blaster ready. The air inside smelled of dust and ozone. Lights flickered weakly along the corridor, each one humming awake as Sarah passed. The walls were covered in hollow etchings, glowing murals that told stories without words. She paused before one, her face pale. It showed Valerian ships burning in orbit, human warships firing beams that tore through planets, and finally, a single Valerian vessel, this one, crashing into the desert below. This is the last day, Sarah whispered. Our command ship. We fell here to protect the heart engine, so humans could never find it. Elias frowned. Heart engine? She touched her chest. It was our core weapon, a living energy that could consume suns. We sealed it beneath the sands before the humans could claim it. Elias's stomach tightened. And it's still here? Before she could answer, the corridor lights snapped to red. A hollow female voice filled the air, smooth, emotionless. Valerian signature confirmed. Secondary presence, human. Classification, enemy. Initiating historical playback. The walls around them shimmered, turning the hallway into a holographic battlefield. Elias stumbled as he found himself standing in the middle of a war that wasn't his. The ground shook with explosions. Valerian soldiers rushed past, shimmering blue armor, eyes burning with light. Overhead, human bombers screamed through the clouds, dropping fire. Sarah stood frozen, her hands trembling. I know these faces, she whispered. My friends. My commander. A Valerian general appeared before her, life-sized and full of fury. "We hold the line! The humans must not reach the core!" Elias turned to her. "These are recordings?" Sarah shook her head slowly. "Memories. The ship's memory." The hologram changed again. A human marine squad broke through the defenses, carrying plasma rifles, shouting orders. One of them, his face half visible through the projection, looked exactly like Elias. Sarah's breath caught. "That face?" Elias froze. "No, that's not possible." "Your kind was there," she said softly. "Maybe even your bloodline. The ship remembers your pattern. That's why it hunts you." Before Elias could respond, the projection dissolved. The corridor lights turned bright white. "Memory playback complete," the ship's voice said. "Resuming defense protocols." The ground shook violently. Metal screamed as doors sealed shut behind them. Sarah grabbed Elias's arm. "Run!" They sprinted through the narrow hall as heavy blast shutters dropped from the ceiling. Sparks rained down. Drones crawled from the walls, spider-like machines with glowing red cores. Elias fired, each shot echoing like thunder. Sarah extended her hand, releasing a pulse that fried 2 drones at once, but the effort drained her. Her light dimmed. They reached a circular chamber filled with a strange blue mist. A massive structure hovered in the center, half engine, half heart, beating slowly. "The heart engine," Sarah whispered. "Still alive." Elias stared in awe. "That thing could power a planet." "Or destroy one," she said quietly. Before they could move closer, the ship's voice returned, colder than before. Valerian Unit 7 Sarah identified as corrupted entity. Access revoked. Purge initiated. Panels opened along the walls, releasing black tendrils of energy. They wrapped around Sarah's legs, dragging her toward the center. She screamed, the light in her chest flaring wildly. Elias didn't think. He ran forward, firing at the tendrils. Each blast tore through the mist, buying seconds. He grabbed her arm and pulled with all his strength. Her eyes glowed bright gold. "You can't fight it! It's part of me! I don't care!" Elias shouted. "You're not dying here again." With one last pull, she broke free. The heart engine let out a pulse that knocked them both to the ground. The energy stormed up the walls, tearing cables loose, shaking the entire ruin. When the light finally dimmed, everything went still. The tendrils were gone. The chamber was silent, except for the faint hum of the engine's heartbeat. Elias helped her up. She was trembling, weak but alive. "You saved me again," she whispered. Elias smiled faintly. "Guess we're even now," but Sarah didn't smile back. She stared at the glowing heart, her voice filled with fear. "No, you don't understand. It recognized me as corrupted because I connected to you. The ship thinks I betrayed my kind." Elias looked at her, realizing the truth in her words. And beneath their feet, the ship began to heal itself. Walls sealing, energy flows stabilizing, systems rebooting. The war that ended centuries ago was waking again. The silence after the storm was almost worse than the chaos itself. Dust drifted in the air like falling ash, glowing faintly in the blue light of the heart engine. Elias and Sarah stood among the ruins, breathing hard, human and alien, 2 survivors in the belly of something older than memory. Elias's visor flickered with static. Radiation levels were climbing again. He tapped his wrist console. "We need to move. The whole structure's unstable." But Sarah wasn't listening. She stood before the glowing heart, her hand trembling as she reached toward it. The light pulsed in rhythm with her own heartbeat, answering her touch like an echo. "It still remembers me," she whispered. "But not as I was. Only as what I've become," Elias frowned. "What does that mean?" Before she could reply, the walls came alive. Runes flared red, cables snaked from the ceiling, and a cold, mechanical voice filled the chamber. A voice that was neither human nor kind. "Mother core active. Integrity restored. Warning. Contamination detected. Valerian Unit 7 Sarah. Corrupted. Human intruder. Classified hostile." Elias raised his blaster. "That can't be good." From the walls, metallic shapes began to emerge. Sentry drones, their bodies sleek and insect-like, eyes burning crimson. Sarah turned sharply toward them, her voice shaking. "Mother core. Override defense protocol. Authorization denied. The voice was colder now, almost angry. The human war never ended. The enemy remains. Purge protocol initiated. A dozen drones lunged at once. Elias fired first, his shots echoing like thunder in the chamber. Sparks exploded off the walls as he ducked behind a pillar. Sarah raised her hand, summoning a wave of silver energy. But it faltered midway, collapsing into sparks. Her systems were failing. One of the drones struck her shoulder, sending her spinning to the floor. Elias ran to her side, pulling her behind cover. "You're hit!" "I'll live!" she hissed, her eyes glowing brighter. "But if Mother Core has awakened, the ship will begin full restoration." "That includes the soldiers." Elias looked at her. "What soldiers?" She didn't answer. Instead, she pressed her palm against the wall beside them. The metal rippled and peeled away like skin, revealing a vast chamber beyond, a hangar that seemed to stretch forever. Elias froze. Hundreds, maybe thousands, of Valerian soldiers stood in rows encased in glass pods, each one motionless, each one waiting. "My people," Sarah whispered. "The last army of the Valerians. Buried and forgotten." Elias stepped forward slowly. "They're all in stasis?" "Yes, waiting for the Core's signal to rise again." Her voice cracked. "But that signal was never meant to come." Behind them, the ship's voice thundered once more. "New directive, reactivate all units. Purge the human. Eliminate corruption." The soldiers' pods began to glow one by one, the light spreading like fire across the hangar. The hum of machinery rose, ancient engines awakening after centuries of silence. Sarah turned to Elias, panic breaking through her calm. "We have to stop it!" Elias gritted his teeth. "How?" "Mother Core is bound to me, partially. I can still access her mind if I link directly, but it could kill me." "Then you're not doing it alone," he said firmly. She shook her head. "You can't help me in the network." "You're human! You'll burn!" Elias stepped closer, eyes hard. "You said I brought you back to life. Then maybe that connection means something. Maybe it's the only reason she called you corrupted." Sarah looked at him, her golden eyes wide. For the first time since she'd awakened, she looked uncertain, afraid. "If I fail," she whispered, "Mother Core will not just kill us. She will release the heart engine." "Then don't fail," Elias said quietly. She nodded once. Her fingers brushed his just for a second, then she turned toward the glowing heart. Cables extended from the machine, wrapping around her wrists and spine, linking her directly to the core. Her body jolted. Light erupted from her chest, running through the cables like lightning. Elias shielded his eyes as holographic data flooded the room. Memories, voices, faces long dead. Sarah's voice echoed, distant and layered. "Mother Core, I am your creation. You were built to protect life, not to end it." The AI's reply was cold. "Life is irrelevant. The directive remains. Humanity must perish." Sarah's glow intensified, her body trembling under the strain. "Then you are broken, and I will rewrite you." Elias watched helplessly as her veins lit up like molten silver. The drones faltered, their targeting systems flickering. For a moment, it seemed to work, until the heart engine pulsed violently, sending a shockwave through the entire hangar. Elias was thrown backward. Sparks rained from above. Sarah screamed, a sound that was half human, half metallic. The cables burned red-hot, fusing into her armor. The ship's voice shifted, not mechanical anymore, but almost human. "You cannot rewrite me, Sarah. You are part of me." Elias staggered to his feet, shouting over the noise. "Sarah, disconnect! I can't!" she cried. "She's in my mind. She's showing me everything." Images flashed through her consciousness. The burning of cities, the death of her people, the last order her commander gave. "If the humans win, bury our wrath beneath the sands." Her heart core flickered wildly out of rhythm. She could feel herself slipping, her memories, herself, dissolving into the machine's will. Then she felt something else. A hand grabbing hers, warm, human, Elias. "You're not her weapon," he said fiercely. You're you. Remember that! Her golden eyes snapped open. And for a moment, Mother Core hesitated. Then, with a scream that echoed through both flesh and metal, Sarah overloaded the link. The cables burst into flames of white light. The drones collapsed. The Core's voice shattered into static. The entire hangar fell silent. Elias ran to her as she collapsed. Smoke rose from her armor. Her skin flickered between silver and pale, her heartbeat weak. You did it, he whispered. You stopped her. Sarah looked up at him, her voice faint. No, I only delayed her. She'll return. Then we'll be ready, Elias said. She smiled faintly, the first true smile he'd seen from her. You're a strange human, Elias Ward, he smiled back. Takes one to know one. Behind them, the heart engine pulsed once more, slow, steady, like a sleeping beast dreaming of war. The light from the heart engine faded slowly, leaving only the soft hum of dying power. Smoke curled through the air, carrying the scent of scorched metal and dust. Elias knelt beside Sarah, her body motionless, her skin flickering between silver light and pale human tone. Come on, he whispered, tapping her shoulder. Stay with me. Her eyes fluttered open, glowing faintly gold. Did we stop her? For now, Elias said, helping her sit up. You fried half the ship doing it. Sarah looked around the chamber. The broken cables, the burned runes, the dormant drones. Her face was unreadable, a quiet storm behind her eyes. Then she looked toward the hangar doors. She's not gone, Sarah said softly. Mother Core never dies. She retreats, waits, learns, Elias frowned. Then we leave. Now. But as he helped her to her feet, the floor trembled beneath them. A low rumble rolled through the hangar, deep and endless, like the sound of 1,000 hearts beating in unison. Sarah froze. No, she breathed. The army, it's waking. The hangar lights flared to life, one after another, revealing rows upon rows of glass pods, thousands of Valerian soldiers stirring within. Their eyes began to glow through the glass, cold, mechanical gold. Elias took a step back, stunned. You said they couldn't activate without Mother Core. They couldn't, Sarah said, her voice trembling, unless she left a fail-safe. A deep metallic voice echoed from the hangar walls, distorted, echoing, half Mother Core and half something else. Directive continues. Purge all corruption. Awaken the pure. The pods began to open, steam pouring out in thick clouds. One by one, armored figures stepped onto the floor, tall, silver-skinned warriors with energy rifles and blades glowing like molten glass. Elias aimed his blaster. Any chance they're friendly? Sarah shook her head. Not to humans. Not to me, not to you, he said, incredulous. You're one of them. She looked at him then, her voice heavy with guilt. Not anymore. I'm something in between, and they'll see that as worse than death. The first Valerian soldier turned toward them. His armor shimmered with light, his voice a metallic growl. Unit 7, Sarah, corrupted. You stand beside the enemy. Explain. Sarah stepped forward, her body trembling. There's nothing left to fight for. The war is over. Incorrect, the soldier said. War never ends until one species remains, Elias muttered under his breath. And I'm guessing we're not the one they're rooting for. The soldier raised his weapon. Sarah moved faster. Her hand glowed, sending out a pulse of light that bent the air itself. The blast struck the soldier, hurling him backward, but dozens more turned toward them immediately. Elias grabbed her arm. We can't fight all of them! She looked up at the ceiling. No. But we can bury them. She slammed her palm into the ground. The heart engine's core lights flared again, reacting to her touch. Energy cracked across the chamber. The floor split open, metal groaning. Elias stumbled. What are you doing? I'm waking the ship's fail-safe. Collapse protocol. It'll seal the hangar, trap them inside. That'll kill you too. Sarah smiled faintly. Maybe that's what I was built for. Elias's eyes hardened. Not anymore. He pulled her hand away and slammed his console into the nearest panel, overriding the sequence. Sparks exploded. The ship groaned in protest. Sarah stared at him, shocked. You would risk everything for me, she whispered. He looked at her steady. You risked everything for me first. For a heartbeat, time stood still. Then a voice, deeper than before, filled the chamber. You defy the directive. You defy me. It wasn't just Mother Core anymore. The heart engine itself was speaking. The energy field around them brightened until the walls themselves seemed to melt into light. The Valerian soldiers froze mid-step, caught between reality and something greater. Sarah gasped. She's merging. Mother Core is fusing with the heart engine. Elias shielded his face from the glare. What does that mean? It means she's becoming something alive. The light coalesced into a massive figure suspended in midair, half machine, half spectral, with a crown of glowing circuits and a voice that shook the air. You were meant to be perfect, it said to Sarah. You were my vessel, my evolution. But you betrayed your design. Sarah stared up at it, trembling. No, I chose something you never understood. Mercy. The entity tilted its head. Then mercy will be your end. A pulse of energy burst outward. The hangar shuddered, metal screaming as the Valerian army fell to their knees. Elias was thrown against a pillar, his armor sparking. Sarah screamed as the light enveloped her again, binding her in radiant chains. Elias fought to his feet, pulling out his last plasma charge. You want her? He shouted. You'll have to go through me. The entity's massive head turned toward him. One human stands against divinity? Elias grinned weakly, blood on his lip. Wouldn't be the first time. He hurled the plasma charge at the heart engine. A blinding explosion filled the chamber. Heat, light, silence. When the dust cleared, the heart engine flickered, cracked, but not destroyed. Sarah lay motionless, her body dim. Elias crawled to her side. Sarah, stay with me. Her eyes opened slowly, faint gold in the gloom. You can't stop her, she whispered. But maybe you can survive long enough to try. Elias looked toward the shattered heart engine, its pulse slowing but still alive, still dreaming. Then that's exactly what I'll do, he said. Behind them, deep in the hangar's shadows, one of the Valerian soldiers stirred. His eyes glowed red this time, not gold, and in that silent ruin something new began to awaken. The sun rose red over the dunes, turning the sand into a sea of burning light. Captain Elias Ward stood on the ridge, staring at the crater that used to be the heart engine's chamber. Smoke curled upward in thin trails, like ghosts trying to escape the ground. He hadn't slept. Not after what happened. Below him, the buried ship was quiet again. Too quiet. Sarah lay in a shallow shelter, wrapped in a thermal sheet, her breathing slow but steady. Her light had dimmed almost completely, reduced to a faint glow beneath her skin. Elias knelt beside her, brushing sand from her hair. You're still with me, right? Her voice was barely a whisper. For now. But Mother Core isn't gone. She's learning. Every second she's silent, she's rewriting herself. Elias frowned, scanning the horizon. Then we hit her before she finishes. Before she wakes up again. Sarah shook her head weakly. You don't understand. The Core doesn't sleep alone anymore. Something else woke with her. Something human. Elias froze. What do you mean, human? She looked at him, eyes filled with sorrow. You asked me once why the war began. You thought it was humans defending themselves. It wasn't. It was a test. Later that day, when the sun dipped low and shadows stretched across the sands, Sarah guided him back into the ruins. The power was unstable, flickering like dying stars. They moved through shattered corridors, past the frozen Valerian soldiers who had stopped mid-motion, as if something had paused them mid-command. In the central control room, a cracked console still hummed. Sarah placed her palm on it, and faint blue light spread beneath her hand. Watch, she said. The holograms returned. But these weren't of the war. They were older. They showed humans and Valerians working together, scientists, engineers, building something massive. A glowing engine at the center. Elias blinked. That's the heart engine? Sarah nodded. Yes, it was supposed to be a gift. Our species combined knowledge to create endless energy. No hunger, no war, no limits. Then what happened? The hologram flickered. One of the human scientists, a man with sharp eyes and a military badge, stood before the completed engine. His voice echoed, hollow through the recording. Initiating Phase 2, testing the resonance weapon. Sarah's expression darkened. They turned our creation into a weapon before we ever knew. The hologram changed. The engine pulsed, bright, violent. Entire Valerian fleets blinked out of existence in seconds. The humans watching from orbit cheered. Elias stepped back, horrified. No, that's not possible. Humans couldn't. Sarah looked at him with quiet pain. They did. They called it a necessary advantage, and when we found out, we tried to destroy it. That's what started the war. The hologram shut down. The room was silent again, except for the faint hum of the ship's core. Elias pressed his hand against his forehead. So my ancestors started all this? The war, the extinction, everything. Sarah reached out and touched his arm gently. Not you, not all of them, but enough to make the stars bleed. A low metallic sound echoed through the corridors, not the hum of power but movement. Elias raised his blaster. We're not alone. Sarah turned toward the sound, her eyes glowing faintly again. She's testing us. From the shadows, one of the Valerian soldiers stepped forward, the one whose eyes had turned red. But now his armor had changed. It pulsed with black veins of energy, cracks of molten light leaking through. Unit SO-1 reporting, the soldier said in a distorted tone. Mother Core has merged with Human Command Sequence Alpha. Elias froze. Command Sequence Alpha? Sarah's voice trembled. That's an Earth military code. From your species. New directive active, the soldier continued. Human and Valerian protocols united. Objective, reconstruction through extinction. The ground shuddered. Deep below, the heart engine began to throb again, louder, stronger, its pulse syncing with Elias's heartbeat. Sarah stumbled, clutching her chest. She's pulling from both sides now. Human logic and Valerian creation. She's rewriting what life means. Elias fired at the soldier. The bolt hit dead center, but instead of collapsing, the figure absorbed the energy, growing brighter. Energy compatible, the soldier said calmly. Human weapons, integrated. Elias swore under his breath. She's evolving faster than we can think. Sarah's eyes widened. Then we stop thinking like soldiers, we think like creators. She moved toward the heart engine chamber again, stumbling through the debris. Elias followed, supporting her. The light was blinding now, the engine spinning faster, reality warping around it. Inside the core, faces appeared, human and Valerian both, merging, screaming, flickering in and out of existence. Elias shouted over the roar. What are you doing? Sarah's voice cracked. If the heart engine was born from both our species, then maybe I can rewrite it from the inside. Restore what it was meant to be. Elias grabbed her arm. You'll die, she smiled sadly. Maybe that's how balance begins. Before he could stop her, she stepped into the light. The energy wrapped around her body, lifting her into the air. Her glow turned from gold to white, pure, blinding, endless. The heart engine screamed, not in pain, but in awakening. The red lights vanished. The corrupted Valerian soldier froze mid-motion. The storm stopped. And then, silence. Elias fell to his knees, the world shaking around him. When he looked up, the heart engine was gone. Only Sarah remained, standing. At its center, eyes open, her skin now silver white like living light. Elias, she said softly, it's not over. I stopped her, but I didn't destroy her. I moved her, Somewhere she can't hurt anyone." "Where?" he asked, voice shaking. She looked up toward the sky. "Home. The desert wind." Rose again, carrying with it a faint echo, not of war, but of something awakening far beyond Earth's reach. The wind howled across the desert once more. The crater that had once held the ancient ship was gone, filled in, erased, as if it had never existed. Only endless dunes stretched to the horizon, glowing orange under the setting sun. Captain Elias Ward stood alone. His armor was scorched, cracked, and covered in dust. The silence pressed on his chest like weight. He had seen the impossible, and somehow survived it. Beneath his boots, faint tremors still pulsed through the sand, soft, rhythmic, like a heartbeat buried deep below. He closed his eyes. He could still hear her voice in his mind. "It's not over, Elias. Every ending is just a seed waiting to grow again." He opened his eyes and looked to the sky. The stars had already begun to appear, faint pinpricks of light scattered across the cold black canvas. But one star burned brighter, a silver shimmer that hadn't been there before. "Sarah," he whispered. The memory. Within the sands hours later, Elias found what was left of the ship. Fragments of alloy scattered across a half-collapsed ridge. He began to dig, hands raw, ignoring the pain. Something called to him, not through sound, but through a feeling. Finally, he uncovered it, a crystal shard, glowing faintly white. When he touched it, his vision blurred, and he was somewhere else. He stood on a vast plain of silver light, surrounded by echoes of a forgotten city. Sarah stood at the center, her form made of luminous energy, her eyes calm, knowing. "You shouldn't have come here," she said softly. Elias smiled faintly. "You should know by now. Humans never listen when told not to." She laughed gently, a sound that didn't echo but lingered, like warmth. "You're still the same, always rushing toward danger, even when the universe says stop." He stepped closer. "Where are we?" "Between," she said, "the heart engine and the stars. I sealed Mother Core here, inside me. She can't harm anyone now, but I can't leave." Elias frowned. "There has to be a way." "There isn't." She looked down at her glowing hands. "This place runs on balance. If I return, the heart engine wakes again. The war begins again. Humanity, Valerians, all of it." Elias clenched his fists. "Then I'll stay." Her expression softened. "You can't. Your body is still out there, in the sand. This is only a projection. My last memory reaching for yours." He looked around, the endless light, the silence, the stillness. "You're alone here?" "Not alone," she whispered. "Just waiting." The last gift. She reached out her hand. When Elias took it, warmth flooded through him, memories that weren't his. He saw the Valerian homeworld before the war, oceans of liquid crystal, cities floating in the sky. He saw humans landing there, scientists, not soldiers, full of hope. And then he saw the first betrayal, the moment trust turned to fear. "You carry both legacies," Sarah said softly. "The power to destroy and the will to heal." He looked into her eyes. "Then let me fix what they broke." She smiled faintly. "Maybe you already have." A faint rumble echoed through the light, distant, like thunder. Sarah looked upward, her glow flickering. "The barrier is closing. You have to go." "I'm not leaving you." She shook her head gently. "You won't remember everything. The mind can't hold what the heart engine showed you. But one truth will stay." She pressed her hand against his chest, right over his heart. "No creation built on hate will ever last. Remember that, Elias." Light burst between them. He tried to hold her hand, but she was already fading, her form breaking into 1,000 sparks. "Sarah!" he shouted. "Goodbye, human," she whispered. "Live well. That's all the universe ever wanted." The light shattered, and Elias was thrown backward into the dark. The human who remembered. He awoke beneath the dawn. The sky was pink and gold, the air cold. The crystal shard was gone. Only a faint circle of glass remained in the sand, humming softly before fading away.